UConn and Arkansas as we move on to the West region here to break this down. These games are going to be played in Vegas, so they're arriving in Las Vegas. Ken, as we leave, Connecticut, the 4 seed in the West region, slams St. Mary's in the second round, advancing to this round, where they will meet Arkansas, fresh off an upset this weekend, of Kansas. UConn at BetMGM, Ken, a 3.5-point favorite, but a juice 3.5, so like 3.75 against the Must Bus, the Razorbacks. I like how Eric Musselman's gimmick is taking his shirt off. He's like me in my 20s. Total 140.5 here. P squared, B squared, UConn and Arkansas.
Oh, man. Probably the game. I mean, Gonzaga UCLA is the game that I'm the most interested in because of money. But if it was not like a financially backed decision, and Gonzaga UCLA is a fun game, this is the game that I'm by far the most excited about that's taking place over the next couple days on Thursday and Friday in the Sweet 16 round. I think both teams have absolutely insane upside versus almost every team that's remaining in the tournament. Arkansas took a really, really long time to find whatever they were going to do this year, like literally until this week, like this past weekend, to try to kind of figure it out. But played really well against Kansas, got some mistakes by Kansas to help them, got Kansas to miss a bunch of free throws, which helped also, but played really well in the game and battled a ton in the game, and you hadn't really seen that from Arkansas basically the entire time. Like, beating Illinois in the first round was much more about Illinois, and like a lot of teams could have beaten Illinois if they'd given you that performance. It took a lot to beat Kansas, so they definitely get a ton of credit for that. Connecticut's they remain. I did BetQL Daily and like a bunch of other media on last week, the day before the tournament, and they said, I forget how they framed the question, but it was something about like kind of macro, big picture stuff for the tournament. And I go, UConn is the most interesting team in the tournament by far, because on a sheet of paper, like looking at all of their statistics, how they're rated and everything across all publicly available stuff, they look like a team that absolutely can win the national championship. They definitely look like that. They were rated in the market like they were like that. Like, they were not rated like a typical 5 seed or like a typical 1 to 4 seed gets rated. They were rated way better than everybody around them from a seed standpoint, and in terms of likelihood to win the region, likelihood to win the title, and that was correct. And I said the reason I thought they were the most interesting team is, despite everything I just said, that they make all of this sense to do all of these great things in the tournament, they're incredibly talented, they were one of the best teams in the country in non-conference play, which is very predictive of who wins the national title. Despite all of that, I really, 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 really don't trust their coach. And like the other 2 NCAA tournaments that he coached are evidence of that. The Big East tournament against Marquette was an example of, and just like when this team gets in a close game, I have 0.0 confidence that he's going to do anything. And again, that's a subjective opinion. You could be like, I actually like Hurley, and look what he's done with the program, and like they have all this talent. Great. I just saying like that's why I think they're the most interesting team, because they're like it's like a Tennessee on steroids, where it's like they're way more talented than Tennessee, and I look at their coach almost exactly the same, basically. So you get to this game, and I look at this number, and I go like, they're better than this. Like, UConn's better than this. They should be favored by more, just in terms of like the raw difference between the teams. They just should. Their upside is even better than Arkansas's upside. Like, Arkansas's upside is not to win a national, in my opinion, not to win a national championship. It's probably like to go to a Final Four and lose. And I think UConn's upside is actually to win the title. I think they're that good. And I don't know if they're going to do it, because I still have questions about the coach. So when you get to this game, I know I just gave you a ton without being like, my lock is this. I don't think this game has a lock.
What is your lock?
I think this is maybe the most volatile game of the entire round. It almost certainly is. I think either team could win by 20. Wouldn't be shocked at all. Wouldn't bat an eye. I think just the average, which average with these teams is like a loaded word because there is none almost. They can give you so many different performances. I think UConn's better than this number. And if I had to bet the game, I would bet them. I don't think I will bet the game, but like I would have a hard time showing up and betting Arkansas at a number this short. I think they can win, but at a number this short, I would not bet them.
Yeah, I think like as you were talking and like you kind of like provided me a perfect like jumping off point there at the end. If you're gonna bet Arkansas, just bet the money line. Like, I think that'll be my ticket in this game, will be Arkansas money line. Because I think if the game is close, I think Arkansas is just going to win. Arkansas is going to win the game. I trust Musselman more. I trust the Arkansas players more in like a clutch situation than I do the UConn players. So you might be right, Ken. UConn might win by 20. But if that's going to be the case, it's like when we handicap NFL games. If like you could see anything happening that isn't like the underdog money line inherently valuable. I know it's not like a huge underdog money line price here, plus 150 right now, but maybe it'll go up. Like, it looks like UConn's about to go up to 4 at BetMGM at least. Maybe UConn continues to see continues to get bet and the number keeps going up, I feel like I'll have an Arkansas money line ticket in this game.
Well, just to give you something else here too, because I thought this was true. So I remember seeing at the start of the tournament, I looked up something, and I'm going to kind of do like fuzzy math. I got to figure this out live on the air a little bit, and I think it's true. I was looking at games decided by 5 points or less, or one possession or less, like breaking it down into segments. Because if I'm right about you, for example, let's say my hypothesis about UConn is correct, that like the coach is problematic. Okay, that would show itself the most in close games, right? Like that would be a situation where like if they just roll over somebody talent-wise, like yes, that's the recruiting part of being the coach, but it's not like the in-game coaching part of being a coach. Like you were never faced with like a situation that had any adversity. You could argue the first 2 rounds of the tournament, they were rarely faced with situations that St. Mary's was close for a little bit in the second half, and then they dump trucked them. And it's like, I don't know if that game qualifies as like final 8 minutes, final 4 minutes. You really had to like draw up some stuff. Your team had to be really good in clutch situations. I'm just doing some fuzzy math right now. So like, let's call it 5 points or less, or 6 points or less. Has UConn won a game that was decided by that margin this season? They have won 1 game by 6 points and no game by less than that. Now that doesn't mean the games were close at one time. Also, some of their losses this year, and I'll work backwards. Marquette by 2, semifinals of the Big East tournament. Creighton by 3, February 11th. Xavier by 3, January 25th. Seton Hall by 1, January 18th. Marquette by 6, January 11th. Like that's 2/3 of their losses were like 1 possession games. And every time they were in a game with that scoreline, they lost it, basically. What if this is that game? And like, it's Arkansas's good enough. This game's going to be in that margin a lot of the time. And Arkansas just played Kansas in a game with that margin. Kansas also really good. That's what's tripping me up here. This team on UConn on a sheet of paper is like a world beater. I mean, they're so good. And then you just like, you watch some of these games, and we watched Marquette in the semifinals, and we talked about it the next day. How can this team win when if they're in that, if maybe they're just never in that situation, they blow everybody out. Maybe that just happens. Not going to happen, but maybe it does. Maybe it's the next round against UCLA, who's definitely going to play a close game against them if they get to that point. And UCLA is the best in those situations. The app makes every free throw, makes every good decision, does everything right. It's the only reason they were able to beat Northwestern. So like, the number is not wrong. It's probably short. Can you really like make a bet one way or the other just on like subjectivity with coaching? That's the most interesting part of this game.
Nick and Ken here. You bet Tyler with us as well. P squared, B squared, Sweet 16 rounds of the tournament. Tyler, it's a stupid question. Tyler likes Arkansas. Tyler, tell us why you like Arkansas.
So I haven't made a bet yet. I'll probably wait to see where the line goes. But I mean, I like Arkansas. I think they can win this game. The problem with them is a lot of people coming into the tournament was like, oh, they got Nick Smith back. They're going to hit another level. Nick Smith has been atrocious. I don't even think he didn't even play in the second half, I don't think, against Kansas in their last game. He has a combined 6 points in the first 2 games of the NCAA tournament. I don't think they need him to score this game in order to compete. UConn's going to score with all the time. So I mean, I'm stumbled by this game. I don't know what to do. I don't have a bet right now. I still have these futures that I'm going to watch, but I mean, Nick Smith needs to do something. Arkansas can match him with their size, but like Ken said, Hurley's not a good tournament coach. This is Musselman's trying to go for his 3rd straight Elite 8. One guy's on one side of the spectrum, and the guys and UConn's on the other side. So I mean, Arkansas plus the points is probably great, but they need Nick Smith to do something badly in this game.
Only 16 minutes for Nick Smith in the win against Kansas this past weekend. Yeah, Arkansas money line will be a bet for me almost certainly here. Let's see where the line goes. I feel like I'll get a better price leading up to Thursday night. Let's at least start our handicap of one more game. We'll carry it into the Power Hour. And Ken, that's going to be Tennessee and Florida Atlantic in the East region of Madison Square Garden. Tennessee, a 5.5-point favorite at BetMGM, trending towards 6, -115 right now. Total is 130.5. FAU plus 210 on the money line. Tennessee -275. So we talked a lot about Tennessee in terms of survivor pools. What about as far as the point spread is concerned here, Ken? Tennessee and FAU for berth in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, so this can't be like a survivor conversation. This has to be a betting conversation. My theory on this, when I knew what the matchup was going to be, I go, all right, I think I'm going to want to wait as long as possible and bet Florida Atlantic. Let's see what the number is. And then the number comes out and I go, okay, like I like Florida Atlantic at this number just a little bit. Let's see if I can get more. And then I'll be obviously like more confident, or not more confident, but just more likely to make a bigger bet on the game. And I will, just look at the recency bias with how each team, like Tennessee couldn't have gotten more credit than a team got. You got Clark Kellogg on the Charles Barkley being like, that was the best game plan I've ever seen, physical this, whatever. And it worked. And FAU almost lost to a 16 seed. And now we're going to get now this is going to get bet up. Probably we're going to get 6.5. And this is like a subjective coaching thing, but it's finally we have these subjective coaching angles. Here's one where the market actually matches the angle where you'd want to make a bet against it. Here's Rick Barnes, and it's not Rick Barnes plus 3.5 against Duke when nobody wants them and they don't even have to win the game to cover. Here's expected win for Rick Barnes. We do this in college football all the time with coaches in different situations. This is the fade Rick Barnes game. It's on a platter for you, basically. I don't know if they're going to lose necessarily, but I think the number is more likely to go up than down, so I would like to wait. It'll be some amount of money on Florida Atlantic, probably dictated by what the number is.
Will you hoot like an owl to close hour number 3?
Hoo hoo.